Hello, and welcome back to Tales from the Social Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie, and I'm joined by Aaron, another host. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks.
So it's our first sort of introductory episode, the relaunch and the sort of change of format for the podcast that I was doing before, where I was just kind of reviewing beer and talking to myself, really. So I thought it would be much easier and a better listen if there was somebody to join in and have conversation with. And Tales from the Social Club kind of became an idea that sort of gathered pace from there, from us sat in our local social club talking about the stories and the funny drunken tales that have happened to us over the years. So I thought, why not actually put that in a podcast format and we can discuss them in an episode or in an episode each and get a bit more story around it and everything like that. So yeah, Aaron's joining in for the ride on that. He's now a co-host, not just a guest.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be here. And like you say, any excuse to tell the tales that I so enjoy telling to people,
And have a beer while we do it.
and have a beer while I'm doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because why not?
So what are you drinking this evening?
So I am, just as you can hear that. I hope that came through. I'm on a beer called May Contain Brambles, which is a porter by Fierce. So I guess we'll probably get into it a little bit more, but we've had you signed up for it first, but then you got me onto it as well. The subscription boxes from a company called Brewser. So this was in my my first box because I picked Fierce as for the first brewery to have the box from. And it's what does it describe it as? It doesn't. Brilliant. So it's a beautifully rich and sharp porter complemented by balanced fruitiness from a seriously generous late edition of Brambles. So it's very sort of Blackberry-esque, sort of the label and everything.
Interesting.
So I'm just about to try that now.
What's the ABV on that one?
It is on here somewhere. Oh, 5. So it's 5%.
That's not bad, is
it?
it?
Not too strong. But I mean, probably about as weak as these ones get, really.
How was your Fierce box? Was it good?
I was very impressed with it. There's a good sort of range of styles and stuff in there. So the thing is, like, a friend of ours is quite into his sour beers, but also I quite like a sour beer as well. Yeah. And they seem to be the only ones that Shell, my wife, will drink as well.
Okay.
So whenever I get a sour beer in, she said, "Oh, you got to have that one when I'm here because I want to have a taste as well." Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And there was a really quite a nice one in there, which I am completely drawing a blank on what the name was right now. So let me see if I can find that. Had like a dragon on the cover, and it was called Blood of Nidhogger, which was it was very interesting. It's like sort of sour. It was a black ale as well, so it was very dark.
Yeah.
And sort of a bit sort of blackcurranty again, kind of quite tart more than sour. That was quite an interesting one. I really like that. And they also had a cherry cola sour as well in the box, which I was a big fan of. So, but there was also, like I say, I've got this one, which is a porter, which I'll try it now.
Go on then.
Not overly fruity, which you do get sometimes with like stouts and stuff, but there is that fruitiness to it. Very nice. It's got that sort of porteriness that you can just kind of. So I always think of porters as being like far more drinkable versions of stout as well, particularly.
Okay, yeah.
So it is kind of like that. But yeah, that's quite nice. It's a shame it sat in my fridge for so long because it's quite good. That one is
nice one. My Bruiser box didn't arrive on time. I thought it might arrive early this week and it would be in time for the podcast. So unfortunately, that's not happened. And so I paused my subscription for June because we were going on holiday. And I had a black IPA while I was away, actually, at one of the pubs there from Harbour Brewery in Tenby. Quite interesting.
Yep.
Quite a nice little change of pace for the palate. So yeah, I forgot about my Bruiser box. I was going to actually pause it again and just give myself another couple of months. We've had a couple of unforeseen things that have happened recently that have cost money, and I just thought I could do with that 30 quid in my pocket rather than spent on beer. But anyway, I forgot, and I got an email to say your mystery box is on its way, and so not only have I forgot to pause it, I have forgot to fill out the, because you could, with Brewser you can choose the brewery that you want it from, or you can leave it blank and then they'll send you a mystery one. So I'd done for like 2-3 months up until June, and then I'd not picked anything because I paused it. So I've got a mystery box on the way from somewhere, from someone, and I don't know what it's going to be. It's kind of exciting, but also
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Yeah. So anyway, let's not talk about the beer I haven't got. Let's talk about the beer I have got. And these have both got a little story that all links into me and Aaron and the podcast and the social club element of this whole thing. So first up, we've got Hobgoblin's IPA. Now this is the 5.3% version, and I've actually
Right.
discovered this afternoon, just looking back on a couple of pictures, the Hobgoblin IPA that's in the club now that they've
Yeah.
recently put on isn't this one.
Oh,
What
okay.
they've got on is the Session IPA, which is actually 3.4%, I think.
Well, that explains a lot.
It does, because it's a cheap pint, isn't it? And you're getting a cheap pint because you're being shortchanged on the ABV.
Yeah, you're throwing them back as well, and you're like,
Mind you, we didn't do bad last time we went.
no, well, we never do. That's kind of why we got the podcast, I think.
That's the point, yeah. So previous to the Session IPA from Hobgoblin, they used to do 61 Deep Pale Ale. The Marston's one, 4.1%. But they changed it recently. They said to you a while ago that they were stopping doing the 61 Deep, and then they kept doing it for ages. And then all of a sudden, we went in once and it was gone. So
yeah. So I guess if we're going to get into the tales from the social club, I'll bring up the first tale from the social club. Was that we were in there? We were watching the it was the World Cup. The World Cup was on.
Yeah.
So we were watching one of the England games, and then rather than being sensible adults and going home when the game was done, we decided to stay in there, didn't we? Carry on.
Yeah.
And I got talking to the fella who basically is in charge as such, and he was saying that that the brewery, for whatever reason, it decided to change their mind, and that they were changing it over from the 61 Deep to other sort of IPA type, pale ale type, something that isn't lager, basically. And it was all kind of that was it. Then that was that was late November, December time, and we kind of assumed that it'll be sort of next year is what he'd said. So I kind of assumed, come January then it'll be gone and there'll be something else out. And then the next few times you go in, there was still 61 Deep was in there. 61 Deep was still in there, and we're like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And then we had recently, we'd been on a walk, hadn't we, in the day? We'd done a bit of hiking and stuff.
Yes.
And we came back and we walk in and go, yeah, okay, I'll have a 61 Deep. And the woman behind the bar was like, no, you won't. Oh, okay.
It's finally
fine.
gone.
What have we got then? And then I think it'd been a couple of months as well that I hadn't been in. So it was a case of, I hope it hasn't been like this for ages, and I've just not been in here. I feel like a right divvy now.
Yeah, it makes you, yeah. Because we're kind of like, they kind of recognize our faces, I think, now by this point.
Yeah.
Quite often might get us confused and mixed up with each other.
Yeah.
But we're not like the not like the local that walks in and knows everyone first name basis and is just one of them people. I feel like
I guess it's part of the
we're kind of growing
thing
into
with
it,
like
but
social
it's
clubs.
yeah, but
Yeah, part of the thing with social clubs, really, I guess, is that the regulars are very regular,
yeah.
and you can tell that from whenever we walk in there, and it's pretty much the same faces that are in there, kind of thing. So you can't be a coincidence. They're in it.
Yeah.
They're just in here quite a lot. So we're not that level,
No, no, we're not.
fortunately, I
No,
suppose.
I
But
think we're maybe working our way up. But I mean, it's it, they've been doing it for years.
yeah, we've got a lot of ground to make up, haven't we? I suppose.
Yeah, we'll work our way there. We'll get there. And aspirations for the podcast. Maybe one day we record in there while we're drinking one of these legendary beers.
I can only imagine what would happen if we turned up with a bunch of recording equipment in there.
That's why I haven't broached the subject because I feel like it'd be one of them places where they're like, "You want to do what?"
What's one of them? Quite possibly, but
I've
yeah,
got it in my Motorhead glass.
very nice.
Mm. Um,
I'm currently drinking out of a old speckled hen glass that came with a gift set, I reckon.
so the other thing about the switch to the Hobgoblin is they've got new pint glasses, haven't they? Hobgoblin, like I've launched this. I can't remember what they call it, goblet, hobgoblet, or something like that. They've got a silly name for it, but it's a really interesting glass because it's quite wide at the top, a bit like a vase, and then it's got like a real sort of harsh indent, hasn't
Yeah,
it? Like the bottom quarter, and then flares out again, and it looks odd when they serve it to you, but it's quite nice to hold in your hand. You kind of fit your hand in the grooves of it. It's quite comfortable. It's just an interesting take on a pint glass, not just a flat sided like I'm drinking out of now. It's
yeah,
interesting.
definitely. It is interesting, like I say, because it is quite like you mentioned, quite wide as well. So it's shorter than
Yeah,
like what you'd expect normally for a pint glass.
yeah,
So like a wide, short element going on there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that like designed to make you drink it quicker because you feel like you get. I don't know. There's probably some kind of psychology done in that, but I quite liked it as well. I thought it was an interesting because then we were asked for our opinions on the glass in there as well, weren't we?
I feel like when we were asked for the opinion on the glass, I feel like she's maybe had a few people say, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
they
It
don't
felt like
like
that as
it.
well when she asked. Yeah,
It's not traditional. We don't like it. Um, I felt like that was why she was asking, but I like it, and I can see myself liberating a few if I'm honest.
well, we definitely will never be able to record in there if you're carrying on like this.
No, it's to be expected nowadays, isn't it?
Do you reckon that's in with? Well, I'd feel a lot better about it now. I know it's like 3.5% or whatever.
I kind of felt a little bit hard done by that, but then I suppose because I was thinking like £3 what was it, 3.30 a pint,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I was drinking this. I thought that's a really good deal,
Yeah,
but when you realise it's 3.5 and actually it's less than the 4.1 that the 61 deep was for probably the same price, isn't it? Or was that
just
360?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It was
I
rough,
can't know.
sort of ballparky, sort of
It's it,
similar figure.
it's almost like it's almost back to the days when prices didn't really matter because it was cheap.
Yeah,
When you go out now, if you order something and it's £6 plus, you remember it because you're like, bloody hell, that was expensive.
yeah, because you're going to be paying. You know, funnily enough, you go on about like a pint of 3 point something, you're going to be paying £3 odd. Which, to be fair, when you think about it, you're going to be paying like for a pint of 6%, you're probably paying 7 or 8 quid. So
Yeah,
it's swings and roundabouts, really, I guess.
yeah. Pardon me. So with the 61 deep, I've always obviously known that as a Marston's beer.
Yeah,
It quite clearly says Marston's on the front. When the Hobgoblin came in, I thought, that's not Marston's, is it? Surely. So I had a look today, and apparently, yes, it is.
oh, okay.
Marston's bought out Whitechwood Brewery back in 2008, I think.
Wow. Okay. So it's been like that for a
It's
while
been a
then.
while, yeah. No, I didn't think it was, and they don't overly advertise it. Obviously, they've still got Whitewood Brewery on there and everything. Um, but since that, their Marstons have been bought out by Carlsberg as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's like a 60-40 Carlsberg Marston partnership or whatever they call themselves. Um, but I mean, as a small sort of social club, you're not going to get away from that big brewery thing, are you? It's so their kind of choice, I would say, is quite limited. But other stuff they've got on in there, they've got San Miguel as the lager, I think. They've got Worthingtons, haven't they? And Bodies.
Yes, I think so. Have they got one? Yeah, I think they have got both, I think.
I think they've got Carlin in there as well, which isn't Marston's, is it?
No, but I wonder if there's like a lot of the lagers and stuff. So you've got like cores in there, etc. I wonder if they're just kind of done on license, because obviously a lot of pubs will have multiple different, 2 or 3 different lagers or something. And they're all going to be from their own massive macro brewery and such. So
Yeah.
any publican could probably tell us where we're going wrong here, but I assume that a lot of them are just bought in on license kind of thing, and you just get so much of it.
They must have. They must have. You would think, wouldn't you? I know, like
It's
when you go
interesting.
when you
Sorry, I
go.
was going to say it's
Yeah,
interesting
go
you mentioned about it being bought out by Marston's though, because I'm just trying to think back to pub I used to drink in 10, 15 years ago or something like that now. I always remember they had like Pedigree, and they'd have Hobgoblin on as well. And that then obviously that tracks, because obviously it's both Marston's now.
yeah, yeah. Um,
So
I mean,
yeah,
like
sorry, I was just
when you go into like a lot of Molson Coors type pubs, they've always got your Carlin, your Madry, your quite clearly Molson Coors beers.
Mhm.
Um, where with the social club, I suppose Boddingtons and Worthingtons are Marstons now, or they've probably been bought out, haven't they, over the years? So that tracks. But it's just the Carlin thing that threw me, because I was in there last weekend. Just nipped in for a quick one, just to meet with somebody, see a man about a dock, type of thing.
Makes it sound way more shady than what it
I know,
actually
yeah,
was.
yeah. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It was, yeah, um, yeah. So that's kind of a little bit of information about our local social club, and it is very much a local social club, isn't it? It's about what era would you say it's stuck in?
Ooh. Feel like possibly I want to say the 1970s. That's where I'll land,
Yeah, the
because
layout
it's very
and the
much like
style.
yeah, it's not quite a full on, but it has got like the two very separated rooms. So like the bar area and then like a function room type thing, which I guess was a bit more. Obviously, you haven't got like snug bar or lounge, all that kind of thing of the old pubs. But
Yeah,
it's very stuck in that with its separated areas like that, and it's also got like specialized events for like a ladies' night and a men's night and that kind of thing. Always got a tribute act on or something like that
yeah,
within the next 4 weeks, that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
but obviously, there's still a need for it. People still enjoy going there. So,
People still take them up on it. It's like, it is one of them heart of the community type places. I mean, they do a lot of, I think once a month they do a family night. So I think it's usually on a Friday, and it's from 4 or 4:30 up until about 7:30. And so you can, all the families go down with the kids, and they'll have somebody on doing musical chairs with the kids in the function room, while all the parents are kind of sat around the outside having a beer and whatever, and then they'll all go home for the chippy on the way home or whatever, order the Chinese and meet it at home type of thing on a Friday night. So that once a month is quite nice. They do a lot of kids parties and stuff in there. They're just quite multifunctional, really. But
that's a good point, because obviously you've got upstairs as well, which we've never ventured into, but they've got their pool tables and everything like that on there.
yeah,
They've
they've
got
got
a big crown green bowls out the back.
yes,
So it does cater to various different people in that way as well.
yeah, and we live in a little sort of I'd say rural. It's not quite rural anymore, is it? But a little village outside of a big town.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of holding on to that what it used to be, isn't it? But in a modern world.
Yeah, very much so. Plus, for me, decently priced. Beer
Yeah,
keeps quite well.
yeah, it's a good pint. I mean, whether you would, given the choice out of any beer in the world and whatever they're serving, whether you would choose that is a different matter. But when you actually get it, it's a nice beer. It's a nice pint.
Exactly.
And it doesn't cost that much. So, we've got a couple of other pubs in this sort of village, haven't we, that are okay. They are what they are, and they're struggling to make a living like any other pub at this time.
Yeah.
But, I think given the choice, we would go down to the club, wouldn't we, and have a cheaper pint.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the best place for me, I think, for going and having a pint, if you will. Because of the other pubs, one's a bit more of like a localsy pub, I feel. Which, to be fair, I've just said that the club does locals as well, but it feels a little bit more. I can't think of the right word, but it's for the locals, and then that's about it, really. And then the other main pub is trying to be a bit more like a gastro pub. It's not really like a place to go and drink as such. Now there is a little bar area in there, but
Yeah. It doesn't quite
not
get busy enough these days to be a gastropub that it wants to be, which is a shame for it, really. But at the same
feels
time,
like it kind of can't make its mind up
yes,
how it wants to proceed a little bit too much. So, and
yeah,
it's like it's changed hands 2 or 3 times in the last few years as well, which I'm sure COVID's had something to do with as well. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, true. And we've sat in the club before now and thought of with our craft beer drinker heads on, or hipster heads, whatever you want to call us, and sort of said, if this was brought into the modern era, you could keep these beers on for your locals and for the people who want cheap drinks, but there's always maybe 2 or 3 pumps that are never used. So why not get a few guest ales on? Why not branch out into the sort of craft market, and because you don't even have to get the huge barrels that you might not be able to sell. And all right, your price point's going to be slightly higher for something because you're going to pay more to bring it in, aren't you? But put put a small barrel of something on a limited run of, I don't know, even what would somebody, even a hazy IPA or something on cask, or a stout, even something that might intrigue somebody to go, well, actually, I'll try that stout. I've never heard of that before. What's it like? You don't have to go wild and go with these, dippers and everything that people are going to go 7%. I'm not paying for that. I'll stick to my bodies.
yeah, I guess this kind of comes down on the fact of like I've never run a pub or a club or anything like that, so I don't necessarily know how it works. But as far as I'm aware, I guess they're kind of tied into what brewery will supply them with because they're not a free house or anything.
Possibly, yeah, yeah. I
So
would,
then they're a little bit.
yeah. That could be
It's
so.
it's a big risk then to take. You know what I mean? To try and get
Yeah.
something in that I don't
No,
know. But
first
yeah,
of all, might not sell, and second of all, they might get told off for doing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. If there's anyone that knows a bit more about, the ins and outs of running a pub than we do, clearly, then give us a shout on social media. Jamie's Man Cave, you can come and tell us what for.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, come along, tell us what we don't know.
Okay, so that's a little sort of insight into where this podcast kind of comes from, the idea. And we have got plans to um, bring to you a lot more of our little stories, the things that have happened to us, the funny things that were said once, the experiences we've had in different pubs and clubs, different countries, stag do's, all of that kind of mix. What we're going to do though is we're going to do like a story per episode, potentially, and then talk around it with some beer chat, as we've just done, some beer news and bits and bobs like that. So we've got some nice, neat episodes. We don't want to blow a load on the first one and have nothing else to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about. So I suppose for a bit of an origin story of where sort of me and you meeting, drinking, all that comes about, we could do a little origin story of that. So then we've got the social club aspect, we've got where we met and how we know each other, and then that's kind of our first episode done and dusted, isn't it? So without going way back to drinking cans of Tennant Super in the park, we'll fast forward a little bit from there.
Yeah.
Um,
Best dad.
and we'll go for sort of the old tradition, which was for Aaron's birthday every year. It would be that we would be going to the curry house for a curry, lots of beers around it, and that was kind of how sort of that was like when we were 17, 18, wasn't it? So that's kind of how we got into pubs and kind of carried on from there, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like it probably was because, I mean, particularly for me, I don't feel like people. It might be different for other people, I guess, but particularly when we were coming, like turning 17, 18, like underage drinking in pubs wasn't really a thing.
No, you
Like
were very, very lucky.
Pubs were always kind of pretty hot on the whole ID and stuff like that if you looked a bit young. So, which they might still be. I haven't looked young for a very long time now. So yeah, it must have been like you say, sort of 18, 19, getting on that point. And it kind of became a bit of an annual tradition for a while that for some first and then go out on the piss afterwards, which like you think about it, makes sense because you're lying in your stomach. It's I couldn't have done it now. If I have a curry now, that's me done for the evening.
I was just thinking that exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, a little aside actually on one of my birthday I had recently. The wife was like, "Okay, well it's your birthday. We'll do what you want," and I was like, "Cool. We'll go out for a curry and then go out for a couple of drinks afterwards, like in a Nantwich, the nearby town." So I went out for the curry, and then we went out for one drink, and I sat there afterwards like, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah,
I'm just done. I'm just old now. I can't do it. I used to do this every year. But yeah, so yeah, going back, we would go out, we'd have the curry, and then at the end of the road from where we used to go for the curry was a pub that's a great little pub. We were in there again recently. And from there he kind of moved on, and there was two or three, and it would always end up in the Weatherspoons.
Oh yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
better or for worse, it always ended up in the weather, which isn't there anymore.
It stayed open late
Because
and it was cheap, but it's no longer there.
that was it. Yeah, it was basically the one that would stay open the longest. So that was where it would always end up. But yeah, that was always the format, the tradition, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and like you've just said, I couldn't eat a huge meal like that now and drink on top of it. Not beers or lagers or anything, ales, anything really. But thinking back, we used to. We'd have maybe two or three while we were meeting up, while we were waiting for the food or ordering. You'd have one with your meal, and then by that point you're 4 or 5 beers deep. You've eaten a big
Yeah,
meal, and then you're off into the local pub that serves all manner of ales. And
I remember.
we would all usually drink Erdinger, and
I was
that's a
going to say
huge beer, isn't it?
putting back quite a few Erdingers in there as well, which is quite a strong, quite a full, wheaty, full pint. It's
Yeah,
I don't know how we did it.
thinking back, you'd feel okay about it. Maybe till the next morning, but you'd feel okay doing it. And we weren't big people, at the time. Um, I've got much more of a belly on me now than I've ever had when I was 18, and I don't know where we put it and how we metabolized it all. Because it was always a thing that young and stupid. It's always a thing that you're going to have a hot curry as well, isn't it? It was always a Madras jalfrezi. Some people were having the vindaloos, and then you'd have a skinful of beers on top of it. It was heavy going.
Absolutely wild. None of those things I could do now.
I've grown old and very soft because I can't eat spicy food anymore because it does some real damage to me and it's not worth it anymore. Wakes me up far too early. And I am very dodgy when I drink wheat beers as well, so I couldn't do any of that now. The only
Do you
thing,
think, seeing as I'm in a quite a similar position to you with regards to the
yeah,
spice, we won't get into too much information, don't worry, listeners. But do you think that, I don't know, sometimes I think, did we go a little bit too hard, too fast,
what, maybe
too
damaged
young on that?
yourselves?
Yeah, possibly. We've brought this on ourselves. This is our.
I used to really love spicy food, and it did affect me in the way that it does most people. But now can't entertain it at all.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So maybe we did something. Maybe it's just as something that's progressed with age, and we no longer can tolerate it.
Or we're just getting old. Maybe that's it.
It's just getting soft, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the curry house we used to go was directly behind sort of where we all kind of grew up.
Yeah.
And it was called Bollywood Masala, wasn't it? Was that right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not there anymore. It's a block of flats, um, which is a shame
Yeah.
because we've got memories in there, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, it used to be always so it used to be a hotel before that, and it was like the
How did it?
function room or something of a hotel, I think.
Hmm,
I'm
it's
trying. I'm
interesting.
trying to remember now. This is going back a few years, but yeah, I'm sure it used to be that because then there was like a taller building that was attached to it that was like never used for anything. While it was the Indian, but now obviously it's like I think it's all like I think they're even residential flats or something like that, aren't they now?
Yeah,
So
they are. Yeah, um, and they knew us. They knew, that time of year we were going to be back again because we did it for quite a
yeah,
few years in a row. They knew us. They treated us well. It was a nice place. Um, there was one other place we used to go when we were slightly younger, and they were a bit more lax in terms of letting us in and serving us. In fact, until
oh yeah,
until other people caught wind of it and started exploiting it, and then it became a bit too much. They couldn't manage it, control it, and it was too much for them. So they kind of spoilt the party for us, didn't they?
yes, I remember. Yeah, yeah. Again, another Indian, I think.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
So yeah,
and that's actually changed hands. That's another Indian now, so it's somebody else in charge of that. But that's quite a nice Indian. We have delivered from there every now and again.
Hmm,
Yeah,
good to know.
yeah. Kids like Indian, so we get to do it all together. It's nice.
Has that been brought up? Has that been brought up when you? I used to go here when I was 16 because they used to let me go on the piss.
every time.
Yeah.
Typical dad thing.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like what I would do now if I was like going out for my birthday or something. If I was going out for a curry, I'd say book the meal for slightly later than we would normally eat. Then I'd go and have a few beers before we went for the meal. Get the few
Yeah.
beers in early, eat, and then I'm ready for home. I can't do the drinks after the meal type of thing. So
No
uh,
chance.
yeah, anyone who's listening who thinks we're really old and sound really sad, your day will come.
Yeah, it'll happen to you too.
And anyone who's sat there laughing at us saying this, then yeah, you already know you've done it.
Yeah, exactly that.
So yeah, on one of the nights, and I can't recall exactly which night it was in terms of where we went pub wise, but we'd been out, we'd had the curry, we'd gone to the pub at the end of the road, we'd gone into the town, which is just over the bridge, and sampled a few beers from elsewhere. A lot of beer was drank. We'd had
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
We'd had a lot. Actually, I think a lot culminates in that one night. To be honest,
Possibly.
so I'll kind of run through a version of events that are hazy in my mind.
Okay. I'll let you go and then I'll see if I've got any notes.
So we've done the curry, we've done the pubs.
Yeah.
potentially we've finished in the Weatherspoons, but not as late as we would normally because your parents were away. So you had a free house. It was like, oh, you can come back to mine. We'll have another drink, and whoever wants to stay can stay. I think this is how it happened. So that happens.
Yeah.
We all end up back at your house. We didn't watch Scarface on this occasion. And if you listen to
For a change.
Aaron's podcast that I'm on, then you'll get that in joke. You may as well just join in. Listen to all our podcasts all together. You may as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You're here now. A couple of beers were had. I was on the phone to my now wife because she was over in America and she'd gone over for a friend's wedding. And she was due to come. No, she was on her way back. She'd landed at Heathrow during the evening we'd been out, but she was waiting for a connecting flight from Heathrow up to Manchester, and it was a bit of a delay, and she was there for a few hours, and I was upstairs, I think in your bedroom, on the phone to her, while you lot were downstairs doing whatever, playing Guitar Hero, listening to music, watching Scarface, whatever. And I was like, "Oh, you can't get back. Do you want me to just come and drive down and get you?" Like completely pissed out of my head and trying to show off and help out this girlfriend and all
standard,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that phone call ends. I come down. There's a bit of a commotion when I come down the stairs, and one of our group had been sick, I think, in the house, and immediately ran out the back door and through the back gate, and nobody knew where he'd gone. Do you remember that?
I completely forgotten until you just said it then, and it's all come flooding back to me. Yeah,
everyone was like stood there like, well, I don't know where he's gone. He just ran out the back gate, and we don't know where he is. So a couple of people are trying to clean up the sick because, like, if anything like that happens at a house that is not yours, but you've been invited back and you're potentially gaining something out of it because, like, we've got somewhere to stay that's free and we don't have to walk home in the cold. So we're going to clean up someone else's sick, but just as like payback for letting us stay. So some people were doing that. You were a bit like caught in the headlights and a bit like, I don't know whether to be really pissed off that someone's thrown up in my house, whether I should be cleaning it, whether I should be trying to find my friend who disappeared, or what I should be doing. And then like the dust kind of settles a bit. The sick's been cleaned up. We still don't know where he's gone. We're all kind of stood in the kitchen, cracked another beer just to like contemplate what's gone on, as if we needed any more. And then he just walked back in through the kitchen, and he'd been like hiding behind the gate as we were all walking past to go and look out.
So
is that your memory?
Yeah, okay. So my memory of that bit is he'd sort of thrown up kind of on himself, but he was like on the end of the sofa, and it had gone down the side of the sofa.
The worst.
Yeah. And
I've got kids that have done that.
It was this leather sofa, and I remember like we between the lot of us, I think we did a fairly good job of cleaning it up.
Yeah.
In the end, but the smell and I couldn't figure out if it was just because I knew it had stunk and it was lingering, or if it did still smell.
Just like filled the room.
Yeah, and for ages, and I was like, I'm going to get killed by my parent. They're going to go fuming. And I think I have owned up to it since, maybe, if not. They listen to this. It was about 3 sofas ago, you're fine.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So I do remember that. And I remember, like I say, he just went off like a rocket out the back, and kind of the back leads onto like an alley kind of thing. And then it was obviously pitch black, and people had gone out then looking for him out the back. And kind of he was like 2 or 3 houses down, but like sitting there in a garage way almost.
Right.
People obviously not seen him. He was in no fit state to be making himself known. So people are just wandering straight past him, like going like much bigger search radius than would have ever been needed. And Yeah, and then like I said, including a friend who we don't speak to anymore. Various reasons fell out with him, but yeah, he might crop up in some stories anyway from a time because he was a bit of a character. But he'd gone out
Potentially.
looking for him and decided not to bother putting his shoes on.
Right.
So just gone out looking for him in his socks, and like it's England, so obviously by the time he got back in, they were piss wet through and muddy and everything. I was like, don't worry about them. I'll look after them. Give them me. I'll put them in the wash and everything. And he went home without his socks. Fun fact: still got them socks.
Do you wear them?
Occasionally, yeah, they're in my rotation. Yeah, they've got holes in now because they're pretty fucking ancient. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've still
they're
got them
like,
socks.
how many years old are they now? Over 10 years
Got to be
old.
over 10 years old. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it?
yeah. The friend that we're talking about as well who threw up and stuff. He doesn't throw up quite as much anymore, but he's not got much better.
He still tends to disappear or run off.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah,
If you're listening, you know.
yeah,
Uber's
definitely.
Uber's here.
Yeah.
That's another
So
story.
yeah, that was about my recollection of that sequence of events up until that point. Anyway,
Yeah. So it's calm, dust settles. Everyone's back in the house. We all realise it's getting late. We've had enough to drink. It's going to be time for bedtime. Now, I'd already sort of like checked in and cleared with you that I was going to be staying. I think, and I
yeah,
think
that sounds about right. Yeah,
was it a situation that because your parents were away and your sister was away, someone could use your sister's room, I think, but nobody could use your parents' room, something like that.
sounds about right.
So someone had that bed. Everyone else was downstairs. I kind of bagsied your floor. I think it was. It was
Yeah,
dark.
yeah.
It was dark. Like I don't know why when you've had a drink, even when you're in an empty house, because we weren't married, didn't have kids. There's no reason to be sneaking around in a dark house trying not to disturb anyone because there was no one there to disturb apart from us being idiots. So we're in your room in the dark. You get on the bed. I'm like, great. I'll sleep here, but I've got nothing to sleep on or under. Have you got a blanket? And you went, yeah, here's a blanket. And
Yeah,
threw
so
something rolled up that felt like a blanket when I caught it.
that was it. Yeah. So
And
my
I,
recollection of that bit was that I'd gone, oh yeah, 2 seconds, and went again for some reason because sneaking around in a pitch black house, even though no real reason to. But yeah, went into this cupboard where I thought the blankets were going to be, and just pulled out this thing. Yeah, that feels like a blanket. Okay, grab that. Chucked it to you and threw it over yourself or whatever, and I was like, out like a light because I'd been drinking plenty. So yeah,
yeah.
I was
So
fine.
so I lay down, kind of throw this over me, and sort of like semi kind of asleep, knocked out, passed out, whatever. And a bit like, wake up, remember feeling a bit chilly. Like, something's not working here with this blanket. I can't, it keeps falling down. I can't get it on me. I'm trying to figure out why this blanket won't fit me. And
Yeah.
it doesn't fit on me because it's not a blanket.
No, turns out it wasn't. No,
It's a pair of jeans.
no pair of jeans.
So I've got like the waist bit over my shoulder, like as I lay down, and that feels like it's a blanket, nice and snug.
Yeah,
But then the legs are just like missing the whole of my body, and I'm freezing from like the nipple down, and I'm like, can't figure out why this blanket won't fit. It's not a
yeah.
blanket; it's a pair of jeans.
That'd be why. Yeah,
And we must have been 18, I think, at that time, maybe 17, almost
possibly.
18. Do you think?
Maybe a little bit older.
Well, for my 19th, we went to Newcastle under Lyme. We'd never been there
Oh,
before.
geez, was that? Was
We've
that
never been
early?
there since. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was
no,
my
with
19th.
good reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Or was that my 20th?
it's going to be around then.
I
So
feel like it was my 19th. So, I mean, this was early.
Yeah, I guess so, right? So yeah, it probably would have been 18, 19 then.
Yeah. And me and Aaron go way back to school, and we've got lots of
Yeah.
stupid stories we won't bore you with, because most of
Well,
the
we
story,
might.
well, if we get stuck, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
but most of the stories we're going to tell you are quite silly. So going back even further would be even worse, wouldn't it? but
Yeah, definitely.
but as an origin story, that is where our kind of friendship and drinking history comes about. That's where we talk about the club. That's where the name comes from, and the kind of the aspect to some of the stories you're going to hear are from them type of places, them traditional pubs, clubs, drinking places. You hear and you witness lots of different things. Some of it is we won't repeat, but the other funny stories we will, and we'll do our best not to drop anyone in it. They're not that bad. They're just funny, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say we've never been that bad.
No, no,
I don't think.
no. I don't think so. So yeah, that's an origin story, and that's a pilot episode, really.
Pretty much, yeah. That about covers it, I think. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of rounds us up. Like I said, we will have more episodes. We've got kind of like at least a season one in the pipeline. We've got plenty of stories we can bring to you and tell to you. But what I would like to do, if there's any listener that would like to get involved, is share some of your stories. So almost like agony aunt style. You can send us some stories, some scenarios, some things that have happened to you in the pub. Make them up if you want. If you want to make that effort and send it to us, do that. We will discuss them and kind of talk through our situation and how we would deal with it. And I think that would be quite interesting as well to fill out some episodes. So it's not just us sat reminiscing about old stories. We can kind of do every other episode, and we might get 3 or 4 seasons out of this idea. Because don't forget, we're a bit older now. We're married. We don't get to go out as often. Feel sorry for us.
yeah,
So these stories aren't recreated. We're not getting new ones all of the time, as frequently anyway. So we'll finish off with plug time. Aaron, plug your social media, your podcast. Tell us where you're at.
yeah. So I am at Aaron Lewis 33 on Twitter. Everything is on there, and then you can also get me Last Jedi on Left. I think it is. There's no the in it on Instagram, but the podcast is the Last Jedi on the Left podcast. It's basically a podcast for all things film. People can, if you're ever interested in coming on, let me know, because I'm always welcome to having guests on there as well. We talk about favorite films or films that you like. Yeah.
Very good. For this podcast, we are Tales from the Social Club podcast. Tales from the Social Club you will find us in the podcast feeds. Jamie's Man Cave on Instagram is where we're at the moment. Jamie's Man Cave on YouTube, and we will have some visual stuff going on YouTube for this podcast, whether that's clips or full episodes. I haven't quite decided yet. And on Twitter, I think you will find us still on Tales from the Social Club. So you can find us there. You can find me doing my separate stuff, which I will link, Talking Dad, which is all dad-related parenting type content as well. And I think that's a podcast.
Yeah.
Will that do
Sounds
us?
good.
Should we say cheers?
Cheers.